So earlier this week on Monday, there was a union leader in Australia who was getting an honorary doctorate from Australian Catholic University. And this is not like a fundamentalist Christian school. This is one of those Catholic universities that says we're open to everybody, even though we have Catholic in our name. Like we're run by the Catholic Church, but anyone's welcome. Muslim, Jews, atheists, whatever. Come on board. We'll take your tuition money. We'll teach you based on our values, but you're going to get a good education either way. That's the idea. I went to a school like that for grad school, so I'm telling you from experience, those schools really do exist. I feel like I got a good education there. It was fine. No one asked me to do anything Catholic. You know what I mean? So this school, Australian Catholic University, they were giving an honorary doctorate to a guy named Joe de Bruyn, who is a union leader, and they wanted to honor him for that work he did with the union. And for whatever reason, ACU holds a graduation now in the fall for the students who graduated last spring. And I don't know why there's such a gap between when they graduate and now, but whatever. The ceremony was this week. And this guy, Joe de Bruyn, he's the former national president of the Shop Distributive and Allied Employees Association, big union. And so he was invited not just to get an honorary doctorate, but to speak to the students. And everything was fine at first when he spoke about the achievements he made with the union. And then all hell broke loose. Okay. Let me show you some of the things he said. Where I want to make sure I'm getting this right here. Here we go. He started talking about his beliefs. And that's where all the problems happen. Here's some examples. He's talked about abortion. Abortion is the single biggest killer of human beings in the world, greater than the human toll of World War II. It is a tragedy that must be ended. So basically, abortion is worse than the Holocaust, is what he was saying. Then he talked about gay people. Marriage between a man and a woman was instituted by God at the origin of humanity in the Garden of Eden, as the book of Genesis in the Bible tells us. Since then, every society on earth at all times has recognized marriage as being between a man and a woman. Like, that's not true, but okay, I guess if you want to go back 6,000 years to the origin of humanity, you might think that. Then he bashed IVF. I responded that he was talking about when he talked about IVF years ago. I responded that it was morally wrong to deliberately bring children into the world in an environment where they would have no father, which is not exactly how IVF works. But anyway, there's the dude. So this is the speech he's giving to graduates while he's receiving the honorary doctorate. And that's disturbing as hell. But here's the amazing thing. Once students heard what he was doing and they realized, oh, this dude's insane, some religious extremist, they started walking out. And I am not talking about like a few students in protest stood up and walked out. Like, remember several years ago at Notre Dame, Mike Pence was given like an honorary doctorate. And in protest, this is during the Trump administration, a handful of students, dozens of them maybe, stood up, turned their backs on him and walked out. This is not that. Everyone walked out on this guy. I'm going to show you a video from this thing. It's not great audio. You're not going to be able to hear the guy, and it's just
conference, so as to endorse same-sex marriage. For several months leading into the conference, I worked with the Prime Minister and with many others to defeat any change in the policy. However, on the eve of the conference debate, by the 400 delegates, we found that we were short of the 201 votes that were required to prevent any change occurring. And so the Labor Party then changed its policy and endorsed same-sex marriage.
Everyone is walking out on this guy while he is speaking, which it warms my shriveled little heart. One graduate student told a reporter, maybe he said this as a joke, but whatever. He said the only people who stuck around were the people recording the event so they could share it on social media later. And and the thing is, this guy, Joe DeBruyn, he didn't seem bothered by any of it. When he was asked by reporters later what he thought about all this, he basically threw the college under the bus. This is from The Guardian. They knew what I was going to say. As to their attitude, you'd have to ask them. I don't want to offend anybody, but you can't say I'm sensitive and therefore you're not allowed to talk about some issue. It shuts down public debate. He's cancel culturing this thing. He said the topics he spanned were perfectly logical, given that he was being honored by a Catholic university on his services to the Catholic Church, describing abortion as a catastrophic issue that needed to be discussed. And here's the thing, like, it is true. The Catholic Church, anti-abortion, anti-gay marriage, anti-IVF. But at a school like this, honestly, at any school, if you are given an honorary doctorate, if you're delivering a commencement, I feel like you don't have to go out of your way to say, you should give a speech congratulating the students who did all the hard work. You should tell them what to expect in the future. And there are ways to do that that are not boilerplate and boring, but focus on them. They're the stars of today, not you. And this guy's like, but I want to give a church service. I want to give a sermon where I talk about all the things and people I hate. And he basically turned his speech into like a personal rant about what he thinks about. Like, it just messes with the whole event. This is interesting. The head of the ACU's National Tertiary Education Union branch said the speech brought shame on the union movement and the university. Abortion rights are fundamental to women's rights. Queer rights are not up for negotiation. Management's choice to give him an honorary doctorate brings shame on the university. Like, damn, this is the person who should have been speaking up on stage. So I love that virtually no one is happy with this dude. Everyone, including people at the college, are like, yeah, that never should have happened, which is wonderful. I will say, though, for that student I just quoted to say management's choice brought shame upon the university, I love that he said that, but that's not necessarily true because it's not like this school has always been on the up and up. In fact, last year, this is a headline that they generated. University orders staff to remove public display of rainbow flags. Librarians at the Australian Catholic University have been ordered to remove rainbow flags across campuses, sparking backlash from staff who say the move is a direct affront to the common good. Like, I love the staff, but like the administration wasn't exactly great a year ago, and they just made an oopsie this week. They've always been pretty bad. I mean, honestly, honoring a bigot kind of seems in line with the school's values when you see what they did with those rainbow flags. It's not that different from when Benedictine College over the summer invited NFL kicker Harrison Butker to deliver a commencement address where he famously told female graduates who just got their degree that they should aspire to something bigger, like becoming housewives. Like, what do you expect when a Catholic school invites a crazy person to give a speech? What did you think was going to happen? Did you not look into this person's views at all? And I guess the thing that makes me happy is if Joe de Bruyn thought he was going to get applause for defending his Catholic values, that never happened. He's totally out of touch with the student body. And I just want to show you, when you go to the Catholic school's website, this is what you see. This is literally their website. What if I'm not Catholic? It's okay. Everyone's welcome. You don't need to be Catholic to study with us. Like, they say on their website, we invite everyone. You're all a part of this. They're kind of downplaying the whole Catholicism thing, saying we run by our values, but we don't impose that on anybody. And then this dude gives his speech where he's like, well, since we're all in agreement on Catholic values, let me tell you why IVF and gay people suck. I don't know. I do appreciate all the students who are speaking out against this. This made me happy too. This is from the Age, the ACLU, the ACU National Student Association, the Melbourne LGBTIQ plus Society, and the ACU's LGBTIQ plus Staff Ally Network, and St. Patrick's Student Association released a joint statement on Tuesday calling for Bruyn to be stripped of the honorary doctorate. I love that all the students are coming together to say, yeah, that guy doesn't represent us. Good for them. I love it. And some of those students actually held a protest outside the campus sometime earlier this week. So here's the other interesting thing about all of this. It turns out, you might think, well, maybe the school was surprised that any of this happened. That's actually not the case at all, because if I could find this here, according to Bruyn, he sent a copy of that script to the administrations, to the administration officials. Sorry, I'm just looking if I could find it. Yep, I lied. I can't find that specific quote. But apparently, this guy submitted a draft of his speech to university officials in advance. And the only thing they told this guy is that they said, you should focus on the achievements of our students. But they didn't force him to change the whole speech. And guess what? He didn't take any of their suggestions. And that same spokesperson for the school later said that the speech was delivered in a personal capacity. But like, no one should buy that. The school invited him. The school saw the speech in advance. They approved everything he said. It's not like his worst comments were ad-libbed where the school could say, we didn't know he was going to do that. So the school absolutely deserves blame for everything that happened. And one of the things I really enjoyed is that there was a Christian writer who commented on everything that happened. This is a guy who agrees with Bruyn and the Catholic Church on abortion and IVF and LGBTQ people. And look what this guy said. Hundreds of people walked away. A few staunch supporters remained, while others sat uncomfortably and embarrassed and required to continue with their duties. Did anyone leave with a better understanding of the Christian gospel or of a life-affirming view of God? Basically saying, if this dude gave a speech where he thought he was going to convince people to buy into Jesus or agree with him, it totally backfired. You got to pick your battles, man. That was not the place to proselytize. And because he did it, all these students will now have a horrible taste in their mouth when they think about the school they graduated from. And I sincerely hope they remember that when they are asked in the future to make donations to this school. Because if Joe Bruyn is the model for what they should become, then their money should be given somewhere else to groups that support reproductive justice and LGBTQ plus equality and all of that. Don't give money to this school. Trash. You're done. You got your diploma. Trash the school all you want. It's fine now. I hope the school learned a lesson from this, because at least someone learned something from all of that. That would be good. Okay, I'm going to stop there. What other questions we got here? Thanks for that donation, Joshua. Heart disease is the biggest killer of humanity, not abortion. What a joke. I would have confiscated that doctorate. As for pregnancies, miscarriage or God ends far more pregnancies than any doctor could. And I will tell you this, I was working on a story about this for today. I didn't have it done, but I'm going to talk about it next week. But you're right. Like, if you think abortion is somehow murder and that those are the ones that really matter, I mean, it never sounds sincere coming from the anti-abortion crowd, because they don't care about the death penalty. They don't speak out against things that would actually help children once they're born. They're not supporting Medicare for all, healthcare for all, anything like that. And they make it harder to access help. They're driving LGBTQ kids to do horrible things to themselves. Like, these people do not care. If the anti-abortion crowd doesn't care about you when you're alive, why do I think you actually care about them before they're born? Right? And so I never can take their claim seriously when they're like, this is horrible. By the way, you may have seen this week as well, that when in places like Texas, infant mortality since the Dobbs decision, infant mortality has gone up. It is harder, it is riskier to be born in Texas now that abortion is not an option there. And again, do any of these pro-life people care about that? Of course they don't. They're not doing the same work to protect infants like they are to pass laws to make life for women harder. They don't care. Thank you for that donation, Carla. Harrison Butker was campaigning with Josh Hawley in Missouri, and they both said women should step aside. Did they really say that, or did they just wink at that? I imagine they winked at that, but man, if people have a chance to get rid of Josh Hawley, and it bothers me that I don't think that's going to happen. Same way, like, you could get rid of Ted Cruz in a week. We would be done with him as a country in a week if enough Texans have the guts to vote for Colin Allred. Will they? I don't know. They could do it in Nebraska too. They don't even have to vote for a Democrat in that one. Like, this is a serious possibility that Ted Cruz could lose his Senate seat, but Donald Trump wins, and you would not be allowed to enjoy the fact that Ted Cruz got defeated if we also lost the presidency. Like, that's a very real possibility, and that's very disturbing to me. Oh, goddamn. They gave him an honorary doctorate based on his work and presumably his intelligence to some degree, and he spewed that garbage? Yeah. Yeah, he did. Again, why don't they do any research? I think I read somewhere, and this is from Joe DeBruyn, that they asked him to give this speech last November. He's had a year, and the school has had a year to prepare for this moment. And what, did they never look into what this guy thinks? And not only like, okay, there are Catholics who believe that stuff, but like, what does he actually want to promote? You would have known. They could have said, hey, give us your speech in advance, and if you don't follow it, we're going to turn off your mic. There's so many ways to deal with this. And they didn't. They just gave the guy the floor and destroyed their whole reputation in the process. I mean, it's the administration's fault at this point. Can they take back the honorary degree? Probably not, because it doesn't really have any value anyway. It's all symbolic. It's a nice honor, but it is symbolic, so I don't know what they're going to take away, because realistically, what do you do with an honorary doctorate? It's a line in your resume, but the guy's old and retired. It won't matter. No one was thinking of him as like, oh, he's gotten an honorary degree. He deserves respect now. No, his reputation was leading that union, and now his reputation is, I don't know, bigotry. So the honorary doctorate, I don't think they're going to do anything about it. Thank goodness, but it's sad to ruin a young person's day like that. Yes, totally. It's so selfish of these goons. Graduation speeches are not for controversy and soapboxing. Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter which school you are speaking at. Doesn't matter public school, private school. Graduation should be about the graduates. And again, you can make fun of yourself. You could talk about yourself and what your personal journey was, as long as the focus is on them. Why would you make it about you? That just seems like you didn't understand the assignment. Oh, thank you, Keith, for that. I appreciate it. I want to give a commencement speech at one of these universities. How do I apply? I know, man. I am waiting for Liberty University to send me my invite. I would give a very good speech. Just trust me.